Hey kids, Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Now, is it possible to ride a motorcycle in the winter? Well, simple answer to that is, of course it is. But there are some things you may need to know, some precautions you may want to take, just to make things a little bit safer and a little bit more comfortable. So if you want to know how I go about riding in winter, stick around and stay tuned. Okay, so if you're a die-in-the-wall old hand biker, you might want to skip this video because I maybe won't tell you anything you don't already know. But I get quite a lot of requests from people just taking up bikers, new bikers, about how I go about preparing to ride in winter and what extra precautions you should take. So I thought it's just worth making this video about some of the hints and tips that I've got for that. I've made videos in the past that cover some of this stuff, but I don't think I've ever made a video that covers it all in one go. So I'll be putting various links and stuff to other videos for more detail. But there are a few precautions you should probably take when riding in winter. First thing I would say is, if it's icy out, if it's below zero, only ride if you absolutely have to. Now, I'm lucky, I ride for fun, I don't have to ride to work in the morning, so if it's sub-zero temperatures, unless it's something super important, then I don't go out on the bike, I take the car. But however, any other temperature down to zero, I'm quite happy to go out and ride in. But as I say, you do need to take precautions. The first thing that I would do is make sure you're properly layered up. Clothing is super important when you're riding in the winter. I'm filming this in the middle of February, and February is the coldest month here in the UK, or one of the coldest months. At the moment actually it's unusually warm, it's showing 8.5 degrees out, but in the last week it's been snowing, it's been sub-zero, but I've been out on the bike pretty much every day, despite what I just said about going out in sub-zero temperatures. And by the way, the reason for not doing it unless you have to is because, of course, ice risk. And it doesn't have to be zero or below to have ice. In shaded parts you can have ice even if the temperature is above zero. If it's been freezing in the night and then you go out at night and it's maybe 2 degrees, there can still be ice patches, by the way, so just be wary of that for sure. You hit ice on a bike, you come off. It's as simple as that. So avoid at all costs. So I think I made that point. Anyway, back to clothing. Now, hiking types say, don't they, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing, and to some degree I agree with that, particularly in biking. And the trick to cold weather clothing, I find, it's not just in biking but in all other walks of life too, we'll just get past these cyclists, is layering. You hear about this a lot, but there's no doubt many thin layers work much better than one thick one. And you don't have to buy special bike layers either. You can get base layers at knockdown prices. Some of my favourites are from a company called FDX. I buy them from Amazon. I'm wearing one at the moment, and I've actually got 6 or maybe 7 of these layers. They're sort of warm lined base layers that you put on underneath everything else. They're long sleeves and they just keep your core warm. They're only something like, I think they're about 12 quid, which is why I've got so many of them. And this time of year I find myself wearing them pretty much every day if I'm out on the bike. They are brilliant, so I'll stick a link below to that particular base layer. As I say, 12 quid, you don't have to spend silly money on branded biking kit. They work really, really well. And then you layer up accordingly. So if it's a really cold day, you might want a mid layer, and then you might want a top layer on top of that. Today, as I say, it's not that cold, but I've just got my base layer, and then I've got a top layer. It's an Oxford top layer. I think it's called something like a windproof chill out layer. Again, maybe I'll stop up here and show you these things. And I just find the Oxford one is particularly good. Not that Oxford are paying me to say anything good about them or anything, but I've just found them quite good value. This particular top just acts as a great, as it says, barrier from the wind. That plus the FDX base layer, and I'm warm enough for most things. I've then got my jacket. And again, this jacket I get asked about a lot. Again, it's an Oxford jacket. It's called an Oxford Mondale. It's from their advanced range. I have done a review on it. Again, I'll stick a card up here on a review to the jacket and trousers that I wear. But I wear this without the thermal layer. Instead, what I do, if it's really cold, I wear a bog standard puffer jacket, again, that you can buy from anywhere, eBay, Amazon, anything like that. And I find that if you stick that on, that's usually much, much warmer than the thermal liner that these sorts of jackets come with. And once again, you can spend a lot of money. I see people like Ruckus charge something like 100 quid for one of these puffer jackets, but you don't have to spend that. You can spend 20 quid on Amazon and get something that works fine as an under jacket. And then the advantage of it as well, particularly if you're on tour on the bike, is that when you get to your destination, you don't just have to wear your biking kit all the time. You can wear the puffer jacket as an outside jacket when you're out for a drink of an evening or whatever. So that I wholeheartedly recommend. So I've just noticed the sun is behind me, so you're probably being blinded every time you're looking at this shot of my face, so I do apologise. And then while we're on the subjects of clothing, of course the other most important thing I think when you're riding in the winter in cold temperatures are gloves. Of course you always wear gloves when you're riding your bike, and you get through many pairs of gloves in your biking career because you quickly learn that there's no one pair of gloves that works for all temperatures. There are summer gloves and winter gloves basically, all different types. But in the winter you want a decent pair of warm gloves. I'm a big fan at the moment of these. These are my Visor gloves. Again, I've done a review of these gloves. I'll stick a card up in the corner all about these. And technically these aren't winter gloves. These are, I think technically they might actually be summer gloves, but I find together with the hand guards I've got here on the GS and the heated grips, they're absolutely fine in temperatures down to about 5 degrees centigrade. So today I've got the grips on and my hands are toasty as you like behind these hand guards. If you're in really cold temperatures, then you can go for heated grips. Again, heated gloves. I've used heated gloves extensively, and again I've done reviews on heated gloves. My current favourite ones are from a company called Visor, rhymes with Kais. Just remember they all rhyme with nice, which is exactly what those heated gloves are. Again, I'll stick a little link underneath and a card if I can in the top of the video linking you to my heated gloves review, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about there. They come in various flavours too. They do have their disadvantages, but they also have their advantages. Now if you're out and about in all weathers because you have to go to work on your bike or whatever, and you don't want to go down the heated gloves route, the other thing, and the thing that's probably I think the absolute best thing to keep your hands warm, are in fact Handlebar Muffs. They look ridiculous. I've never used a set, well I have used a set but not on this bike, and they definitely keep your hands, them together with heated grips and some decent gloves, keep your hands the warmest of all combos. But you've got to not care what you look like to have the muffs. But again, they're an excellent thing if you just want to keep properly warm. You do not want to ride with cold hands. You can't feel the controls properly, and it just makes controlling the bike more difficult, and therefore it's dangerous. So don't go that route. And similarly what I was saying about clothing, you can get heated clothing too. It's very important to keep your core warm, which is why I wear that FDX base layer. If you get cold to the core, it takes an awful long time to get warmed up again, and you'll find yourself riding stupidly because you want to get to wherever you're going quicker just so you can get warmed up. So super important to get all those layers going. I also always wear a neck warmer as well, very cheap to buy. I wear them summer or winter. So that's it really for clothing I think in winter. How about the bike then and the bike kit? Well, first off, if you can get heated grips, get some heated grips. Makes all the difference. Loads of aftermarket grips available. I've got BMW standard grips here on the Beamer of course, and they're absolutely brilliant. I can't recommend heated grips enough for winter riding. And again, things like hand guards do keep rain and wind off your hands. So heated grips, gloves and guards, again, do for most conditions I find. The next thing I want to mention, and it's not strictly speaking bike kit, but biker kit, is your visor. Now I'm riding here with my visor up because, as I say, it's not that cold today, and I just think it looks better while I'm doing this sort of vlogging to have my visor up. If it's down, like so, and it's just looks a bit impersonal, me talking to you like this, but visor, as you will have noticed, I've got a dark visor here. I often get asked, why do I wear a dark visor even in winter, especially together with sunglasses? Well, that's just the thing I do. I'm not recommending you do that, but I have very sensitive eyes to light, and in all but the brightest lights I wear sunglasses and the dark visor. But it does bring me to a good point about dark visors in winter. Do not use a dark visor at night. Technically it's illegal to wear a dark visor anyway. You won't get stopped by the police if that's all you're doing during the daytime. You might get charged for it if you're doing other things reckless as well. But certainly, if you wear a dark visor at night on these cold, dark winter evenings, and the police stop you, then you're going to be in trouble because obviously you can't see so well out of it. So do not wear a dark visor at night. So that's number one. The next thing, of course, keep your visor clean. Some people have little blades on their gloves that they can use to keep the visor clean. I don't find those very useful personally. I tend to just carry a cloth in my top box or a bit of kitchen roll, something like that. And when I get a chance, if the visor's got wet, give it a dry and a wipe with kitchen roll. And then that in combination with applying a coating. Radex make a visor cleaner or a visor waterproof coating that you can apply to the visor, and it keeps the rain off, it keeps it beading. I've also started using something called Silex recently. I made a video on that as well, which is one of these hydrophobic coatings which I'm putting on the visors again, so if it rains it just makes the water bead off and come off very easy. So recommend a coating like that to you. And then the other thing I get asked about a lot is from fellow glasses wearers: how do I stop my glasses from steaming up in winter? Well, number one, all my visors have pin locks fitted, which are like the double glazing that you get for your helmet. So I recommend a pin lock as defence number one. They do help stop fogging. Doesn't necessarily stop your glasses fogging though. If the pin lock alone doesn't work, then I also just keep the visor cracked open very slightly, which you can do on all but the coldest of days. And then the other thing to do is make sure your helmet doesn't have anything like a chin curtain. Some, particularly these Shoeis, come with like a chin curtain that seals your neck around the helmet, which is nice in the winter, but it does no good for keeping your breath out of the visor and stopping it steaming up. So remove that. Similarly, some helmets have bits that go around the nose. Take those out if you can. This has only got a small one, doesn't make any difference, but some visors have, or some helmets have much bigger ones. Take those out. They just serve to steam your glasses up. And in my experience, don't bother with things that you can buy that actually go around your nose and mouth that claim to be anti-fogging masks. Again, I've never found one of those that works. Don't waste your money. And then of course have all the vents open on your helmet so you can get good airflow through. That all helps to keep the visor clear. Last but not least, if you're really having troubles with your visor fogging up, then a little trick that I've learnt from skiing is if you apply shaving foam to the inside of your visor and indeed on your glasses, both sides, wipe it all round, just let it sit on your glasses and your visor for 5 minutes, and then do this at home, obviously not while you're out on the bike, and then when you get home, wipe that all off, just using again a kitchen roll. Don't rinse it off, wipe it off, so that you've effectively got a shaving foam residue on your glasses and on the inside of your visor. That'll act as an anti-fogging agent for a good few rides. You'll need to reapply that every 3 or 4 rides, but that does work a treat as well. And a little hint there for skiers: if you're using goggles with glasses, that works a treat to stop your goggles fogging up. Okay, so that's your helmet and visor. Next up, motorcycle. There are some things you can do to make things safer. Of course, great that these days bikes have ABS, so if you've got a bike with ABS and traction control, that's brilliant. If you don't have those things, or indeed even if you do, moderate your riding in the winter so that you're not riding, hello Mr. KTM man, so you're not riding as wildly as you maybe would do in the summer. The roads are wet, there's salt on the roads, they're generally slippery. Even on a nice day-to-day where it's relatively warm, the roads are still slippery because there's been salt applied, and that means they don't dry out so quickly. So I ride my bike in the winter much the same like I would drive a car, and that's worked well for me so far. Just don't be tempted to give it a handful or brake wildly, because you will come off. Take care on corners. Make sure your bike is properly maintained. Make sure in particular your tyres are in good order. On this bike, which obviously I use as my day-to-day transport, sort of a touring machine, then I have the brilliant Metzler Roadtech 01s installed. They're great tyres, not just for riding in dry conditions, but also in wet. On some of my other bikes I have Pirelli Rosso Corsas, which are brilliant in the summer. In the dry they're nice and sticky, great grip, but they're rubbish in the wet. So get yourself some tyres on your bike if you're using it day to day in the winter that are good in the winter. As well as having good tyres on your bike, make sure they're inflated to the right temperatures. In cold temperatures, the pressure in your tyres will go down. So if you last checked them when it was 21 degrees centigrade and they were perfect, if it's now 5 degrees centigrade, you'll find that they have gone down in pressure. So make sure you check them regularly, because temperature variations make huge variations to your tyre pressures. Not only does that keep you safe because they're gripping properly, you've got the right size contact patch, but also it makes the tyres last longer. And the other thing, of course, is to be seen on your bike. Make yourself as visible as you can. I like brightly coloured or white helmets, Just pull over here actually because I want to show you something on the bike. But also, of course, you can go high vis if you want to. That's the subject of a whole other video, I think. In fact, let's leave the bike in gear here. There we go. That's the subject of a whole other video. But when I recently did a bike safe course with the Metropolitan Police, they talked about wearing fluorescent clothing. They said it wouldn't do you any harm. I agree with that. I personally don't wear it very often because I just think it looks a bit naff. But there is a big argument to have it. And they also said that actually the pink fluorescent clothing is better than the yellow because not so many people wear that. Your eyes aren't so used to seeing it. So that's quite interesting. Anyway, what I wanted to show you here was the lights on this bike. In fact, I'll have to turn her on again. Let's put her, actually I will put her into neutral. There we go. Now on this particular bike, I've got lots of lights. In fact, I'll have to turn the ignition on properly to show you. Here we go. Not only do I have the daytime running lights that BMW put on the BMW GS, but I've also got these additional auxiliary lights. And down here, I've got what I call auxiliary lights. Now these, all those on together, when the bike's running, they're all on together, make for a very visible bike from the front end. I've just got an absolute mass of lights. Okay, they've gone off now, but you know, when they're all switched on, it really does make you stand out. I thoroughly recommend lights. These are quite expensive, the BMW ones. They're about 400 quid to have bought and installed, I think. These though were just cheap eBay specials. These cost me about 17 quid. The mounts, in fact, were more expensive than that. I think they were about 30 quid for the mounts. But and I wired them in via something called the Hex Easy Can. Again, I'll stick a card up in the corner to show you exactly how they work. So go and check that video out if you're interested in some auxiliary lights. I thoroughly recommend them in terms of giving you greater visibility. Alrighty, let me get my helmet and stuff off, and I'll just get the other camera out and I'll just show you those layers I was talking about. Okay, layers then that I'm wearing, just to show you how this stacks up. So I've got my, say, the Oxford jacket on the outside. You'll note I don't have the liner in, but I've got this this is called a chill out windproof layer from Oxford. Again, don't necessarily recommend them in terms of the product. There are others available, but this I find particularly good. It's got a sort of a fleecy backed bit on there, and then this is the base layer I was talking about from a company called FDX. There's a logo somewhere. Anyway, they come in various colours, not that that matters. But again, this just goes as a base layer, and it's got a fleecy line bit. I don't know if you can see that there. So that's all I'm wearing today, and I've got some leggings on as well that come from the same company. So it's just 2 layers and then no thermal layer on the jacket. So and I'm as warm as you like today, and this will be good down to about 5 degrees. Let me show you the thermal jacket that I sometimes wear under here, just in case it gets cold while I'm out on a ride. I usually keep it in the top box, so just stand by. Okay, this is the cheap puffer jacket that I bought to wear underneath this. I went for one that's got like a shiny finish on it, because then it's much easier to put on and off under your jacket. And they're really good because they compress down to virtually nothing. You can keep them in your top box. You just demo this. Not that we need a demonstration on how to put a jacket on. But you can wear it when you get to your location just as a normal jacket, or if the temperature goes down, it sits under this jacket absolutely perfectly. And again, once it's all zipped up, you then get a nice, you know, it's good on your neck as well. So recommend that if the temperature really gets low. But there you go, that's it for the layering anyway. Right, whilst I'm off the bike, let me show you something else that is a bit more comes to the fore in winter, and that is of course cleaning your bike. So here's my bike. It was clean when I left today, and I've just been riding for about an hour, and you'll notice that it's particularly cruddy. I mean, look at this. I mean, that is as bad as my bike ever gets. So number one, you're going to need to clean your bike more often than you would normally do. And number two, you need to make sure obviously that it's protected from any corrosion. The salt and the muck on the road this time of year, it gets all over your bike. It's just impossible to avoid it. I'm a big fan of something called ACF 50. Again, I'll stick a link here to one of my many videos on that subject. There are other products available, but I give the bike a good coating of ACF 50, probably one ACF 50 to every 3 to 4 washes. And this time of year, I wash the bike. I'm riding it every day. I wash the bike at least once a week to make sure you get all that salt and crud off. Yeah, hopefully that means that come the summer the bike's still going to be in good nick. Whilst we're looking at the bike as well, the other thing just to point out in terms of winter on this particular machine I've got is this here is an aftermarket heated seat. It is an absolutely brilliant bit of kit. It's not very comfortable actually, it has to be said. So in the summer this comes off, but in the winter it's great. I've just again wired this in on something called the Hex Easy Can on the BMW. There's a little switch here that turns it on and off, and well, in really cold temperatures that is absolutely great. In fact, even today I've had this seat switched on. It just makes a huge difference, keeping your core temperature warm once again. Anything else to show you? Oh, these are the hand guards that I've got. These are called Machine Art Advanced guards. Again, I've got a video about fitting these. They're quite expensive, but these are just for summer and winter use. And again, they just keep the worst of the weather off you when you're riding in winter. Anything else to say about the bike itself? These are the tyres I mentioned, the Metzler Roadtech 01s with this excellent grip pattern on here. They work a treat in all conditions. Look at the crud on this bike. This is going to have a major clean up very soon. I think that's all there is to say about the bike. Yeah, all right, let's jump back on again. All right, let's get this show on the road again then. Let me just show you those lights. Now I've turned the bike on. There we go. So that's a full gamut of lights. Now, if you see that lot coming, you know, well, it's quite hard to miss. So yeah, being seen, I think, is a really important part of riding in winter. Bright clothing too. This, again, this jacket's got lots of reflective bits in it. Bright helmets, white helmets are even better, so you can be seen. Right. Alrighty. Feels to me like it's getting time for lunch, so I'm going to be heading back home. Just in case you're wondering, by the way, I'm just riding up here through the lovely Wendover Woods, one of South Buckinghamshire's little gems, particularly nice in the summer. There's all sorts of picnic spots and all that sort of stuff up here that you can go to, but I just like riding through it on my bike. Reminds me of being somewhere like Yosemite, which is quite hard when you're near Aylesbury, which is just over there in the fog. Right, so there we go. That was my take on riding in winter and some little hints and tips. I hope you found that of use and of some interest. If you're a seasoned biker and you stuck around and kept watching the video, well, thanks for sticking around. I did say you should possibly skip it. If there's anything in particular I've missed, do stick a comment below, because I have a lot of new riders, as I say, watching the channel, and any hints and tips you might have about riding your bike in cold weather, any particular good bits of kit or whatever that you've got, do stick a comment below and let me know. That would be really useful. Alright, well, thanks very much for watching. If it's the first time you've seen one of my videos, do consider subscribing. It would be great to have you along. I don't just do things about riding your bike in winter, but I do bike reviews, I do bike news, I do live streams, I do trips and tours, basically anything and everything to do with motorcycling. I try and cover it here on the Missenden Flyer. It would be great to have you along once again. Alright, hope that's been of some interest then. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio. Oh, crikey, this has changed since I was last here. Ah, wouldn't be a TMF video without a white Transit. Excellent. For a minute there I was starting to doubt whether my Transit magnetic properties were starting to wane. Transit magnet forever, TMF.